Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We just want to just say thank you all for being a part of this curriculum for the Gulf Coast Workforce Board in reference to youth and employees around the Gulf Coast region. So today I have a very, very special guest who I'm proud to work alongside and who always exude positiveness and uplift the whole entire team. I just want to say thank you first and foremost, but I want to introduce you to the program coordinator Gabrielle Gonzalez. Gabrielle, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, Roderick. Thank you so much for having me. I am Gabrielle Gonzalez. I am the program coordinator for rapid response and apprenticeships here at the Gulf Coast Workforce Board. I'm so honored that Roderick chose me for this topic because health and wellness is such an important topic that sometimes can go overlooked in the workplace. So I'm glad to share some insight and hopefully share some positivity, as Roderick mentioned.
Awesome, Gabrielle. Well, I'm so happy to have you on this particular endeavor today. In reference to, every time we would have a meeting, I just remember you always being in a positive light and talking about self-care and health and wellness. So this particular lesson is self-care in the workplace. So I think that's a very important topic for all of us, especially as we work, 40 hours or more a week. And, that's very important to take self-care and wellness for your health as well. So one of the first things I'm thinking about is understanding self-care, Gabby. The first question I have for you is, what does self-care mean to you, and why is it important at work and not just at home?
Right. Yeah. To me, so self-care is being intentional about recharging yourself, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, at home, that might look like rest or hobbies. But at work, it's just as important. If you're drained during the day, you can't do your job effectively or really interact well with your team. And that's really what's most important. I like to think of self-care as maintenance. Just like you wouldn't drive your car for years without getting an oil change, you can't
Yes.
expect yourself to keep performing without taking care of your needs. At work, that can mean pacing yourself, taking breaks, making sure you're not overloading your schedule with back-to-back meetings. We all know how that goes.
Yes, yes,
Um,
we do.
Self-care at work really just ensures you're present and focused instead of running on fumes. It's the last thing we want.
Yes, yes, definitely want you at your full capacity. But you're right, at home we think about hobbies and things that we love to do. Even at home, I love painting, I love fishing and doing some other things. But also at work, you're right, back-to-back meetings, they start to get on top of one another. It could be
Mhm.
a really tough transition. So setting that time for yourself and making sure you take a lunch. I know
Right.
sometimes that could be a challenge as well. So thank you so much, Gabby, in reference to understanding self-care and what it means to you at home and at work. The
Yeah.
next thing I was thinking about was how can stress or burnout or fatigue affect your ability to do your job well, Gabby? Could you give us some pointers on that?
Yeah. So stress is like background noise in your brain. Makes it hard to concentrate, harder to be creative, harder to connect. For me, I notice it in things like my patience. Sometimes when I'm stressed, I'll be a little less patient. I will tend to reread the emails I receive over and over because I'm not focused, and I'm not understanding what's in front of me. Um, I'll
Understood.
pro- I'll procrastinate. I think we're all guilty of procrastinating when you feel overwhelmed. And then when you're tired, it takes you just significantly longer to get simple tasks done. And then sometimes quality can slip. Stress will always be a part of life. It's inevitable. We can't avoid it completely.
Yes,
But that's
that's
why
true.
it's really important to practice self-care and create balance because those tools help us manage stress because before it becomes too overwhelming. And then that's when it really takes a toll either on your work life or your personal life. Um, and stress should not be that serious. It should be something that we can all manage and create toolkits that we
Hmm.
can work on ourselves.
That's right. I like that you use the word toolkit because having a toolkit in reference to, self-care and wellness is very important. I made for say for example, I just talked about fishing and painting and things of that nature, but also, at home, you have all these other chores that you have. You have family there, so it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's important to have that balance, right? And so I'm
Right.
glad that that you just stated in reference to your toolkit to utilize that in that space to help you so you won't get as burnt out or fatigued.
Right.
One of the things I was thinking about too, Gabby, when you was talking about stress and burnout, why do you think some people may feel guilty or uncomfortable practicing self-care at work?
Right. I think guilt comes from the belief that taking care of yourself is selfish. I mean, taking care of yourself does have the word self in it, so it can be perceived as selfish, or that pausing is unproductive. People worry that it'll
Hmm.
look like you're slacking if you step away or if you shift your focus. But the irony is, those little small breaks can actually make you more productive when you come back to a task or come back to work. Um, you're healthier, you're less stressed, you're a better coworker, a better problem solver, and in turn, you may make less mistakes. Uh, I think a lot of people see self-care as indulgence. People think
Hmm.
self-care, going to the spa, going to the gym, but it's a lot more than that. It's really not about yourself. It's about a responsibility that you owe to yourself and to others around you, just to make you, a better person, and someone who has better quality work, and
Hmm.
someone who's just in turn better to be around. So if you're not
Gotcha.
going to do it for yourself, do it for others.
Yes, yes, I think that's so important, Gabby. Thank you. That's an awesome answer. So, in reference to, a healthy work-life balance, could you kind of tell us what does that look like having a healthy work-life balance and why is it so important to set boundaries? Why is it so important?
So a lot of people see work-life balance as an equal balance of work and life. But I don't really necessarily think it's all about equal time. It's about feeling that work isn't constantly overshadowing your personal life. So
Mm,
realistically, we spend a lot more time working than we do on our own personal time. So
yes,
for me, balance looks like being able to close my laptop at the end of the day, focus
yes,
on myself and my families without guilt. Keyword, without guilt.
gotcha.
Boundaries are key because without them, you end up always being on. And that's exhausting. That's unsustainable. And a healthy balance gives you more room to breathe and recharge. Some people, you can set boundaries by not checking your email after a certain time. I know those notifications can get tempting. Or again, like you mentioned, taking your lunch. Sometimes it's easy to get started on a task, and next thing you know, you miss lunchtime and your stomach's growling. And at that point, you're hangry, which can
Yes,
lead to more stress. So
yes.
protect your energy. Without boundaries, burnout is inevitable, and that won't serve you or your workplace. So take that time.
Yes, it's very important to take that time, Gabby. Great answer. Oh, wow, man, I can't believe I just only have 12 different areas I want to touch because you're bringing up so much information and it's a good information to help a team. So when I'm thinking about managing your time, what are some ways employees can manage their time to avoid feeling overwhelmed?
Mhm. So time management really, again, is about energy management. Pay attention to when you're most focused. If it's in the morning, like me, tackle your harder tasks in the morning. Leave your harder,
Mm,
yeah, tackle your harder tasks in the morning, and then leave the simpler tasks for when your energy starts to dip. Um, I found what's easiest for me, and I identify the things that must get done in the morning.
mhm.
Instead of trying to conquer everything at once, I'll make a list, and then that really will shift your focus, from being busy to really being effective.
Effective.
Um,
Gotcha.
breaking up small breaking up, large tasks into small
Hmm.
doable tasks.
Yes.
It'll make your workload feel less overwhelming. Again, I love a list. I love being able to physically check things off a list. It not only keeps me organized, but it gives me
Hmm.
a real sense of accomplishment. And again, don't underestimate the value of a break. Even 5 minutes can
Yes.
reset your brain. Take a walk to get some water, hydrate. Again, once you come back to your seat, it'll give you a nice little mental reset and hopefully prevent mistakes and have a calmer, more at ease mind.
Gotcha, Gabby. I really like that. I like how you incorporated that, cutting up a large task into small pieces. And also what I really like what you just stated as well was to put certain tasks, heavier tasks, in the AM instead of the PM.
Right.
So you're tackling those larger tasks early in the morning instead of later afternoon. As time wears on, meetings take a toll, and you may not be
Hmm.
performing at your 100% capacity. So I love that theory, and I like that you implement it in your work because I try to do that as well. Try to stack it accordingly. So thank you so much, Gabby. I really appreciate that. And another thing I was kind of thinking about, how can you recognize when you've worked so hard, you've reached your limit, and you need to take a break? Because a lot of us, we tend to just keep going and going and going and going and don't recognize when we have hit that plateau and start going the other way. So what ways can you recognize when you've reached your limit?
Yeah, so that's exactly for me as well. For me, the first sign is when I feel like I'm putting in a lot of work and not making any progress, or
Hmm.
when I notice I'm irritable over small things, or a small typing mistake will frustrate me and send me over the edge. But yeah, it's really when you're overworking yourself, and you're not really noticing the work that's happening, or you're not really noticing progress in your work. Those are
Understood.
typically clear signs that I need to pause and I need to reset. Uh,
Hmm.
Asking for help, I'll be honest, asking for help has not always been easy for me, because sometimes it can feel like a little bit of a sign of defeat. But I've
Hmm.
learned to reframe that. Asking for
Gotcha.
help is not a sign of weakness, it's a chance to learn and grow. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step back, regroup, get another perspective, and that'll really help you move forward with clarity. Sometimes having a little extra input um, really helps, ease the mind and get. Sometimes you'll get a second opinion and say someone will say you're on the right track, keep going, and that little push typically can
Yes.
help.
Can make your day, yeah, and keep you going as well. So thank you, Gabby. I really appreciate that. And so when I was thinking about the workday and taking care of yourself, your mental and physical health, what small things could you do throughout your workday to help you in that process? What small
Yeah.
things could you do?
So personally, I really tried to build small habits into my day. I like to think of them almost as rituals. So for example, in the morning, I always, always, always drink a full glass of water. If not a glass, I try for a bottle. Um,
Okay.
and I'll do that before coffee,
Mm-hmm.
before checking my emails, before diving into work. Hydration makes a big difference just in mental clarity and just feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can all admit that once we get busy and once the ball gets rolling, sometimes, we're reaching for the keyboard, not the water bottle. So when we get caught up in our tasks, you can tend to get dehydrated quicker than you think.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
at the end of the day, I like to reset my workplace. So I like to put my notes in order. I like to close
Mm-hmm.
my tabs that aren't unnecessary, and then make a short to do list for the morning. Again, I love a list. This really helps me feel like I'm closing a chapter. And then I start my next morning in control,
Mm-hmm.
instead of playing catch up and trying to figure out where I left off the day before. Again, these little resets help me feel like I'm moving forward and not stuck in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Self care doesn't have to be time consuming.
Yes.
It's less
Mm-hmm.
about overhauling your whole routine and more about having small little anchors that will keep you steady throughout the day.
Well, that's great, Gabby. I definitely echo those hydration information because I tell you, I try to take a bottle or a canister or something just to have it arm's reach, man. And I'm thankful too. We have so many different water stations here at work,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that definitely helps a little bit too. And also movement, getting
Right.
up, changing your scenery from time to time, finding a window,
Mhm.
and getting a little sun rays in as well.
This
So
office
some of
is
those,
cold too, Roderick. It gets
yes,
chilly in here.
it does. That's why I try to bring at least a jacket or something every day because you never know what you're going to get. It's going to be
Right,
cold. All
right.
right. So I'm thinking about, self-care habits and things of that nature. but also a creative, positive work culture. Since I think we do really have a great work culture here, but how can others, employers, support self-care for their employees? And what are examples of companies doing this well?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ways employers can help self-care is by respecting boundaries.
Hmm.
This can be minimizing after hours responses like emails or chats,
Hmm.
encouraging people to truly step away when they're off the clock. Sometimes we put that out of office on our calendar and people overlook it. But really just respecting that time when it needs to be taken. Flexibility is huge, whether that's a flexible
Yes.
schedule, remote
Hmm.
options, or really just trusting your employees to manage their time in a way that works best for them.
Yes.
Um, and then there's communication. When
Yes, that's a
leadership
big one.
has a open line of communication where employees feel safe saying, "Hey, I'm overwhelmed," or "I really think I need some support here," it helps prevent burnout before it even happens. The companies that do this well are the ones that make self-care a normal, everyday part of their culture and
Mm.
not just a nice perk, a nice add-on. Um, just the cherry on top. But no, these companies have it implemented into their roots and the structure and really prioritize it.
Yes, and there's several companies that, use that piece as a part of their, their base, their foundation. Because,
Mhm.
when you look at the research, burnout is a thing, and
Right.
stress, it's a part of everyday life, but it's also how you balance it. So I think creating some things at the start, at the onset, and having some variables there that could be useful for your employees. And also, I'm just thinking out loud now in terms of why is it important to normalize self-care conversations in the workplace? Why is it important?
Um, it helps build trust, I think. I think normalizing these conversations help build trust. It shows employees that they're valued as a whole and not just for their output.
Yes.
Although the work we do is very important, it's equally important to reinforce that employees' worth isn't tied solely to their productivity. We can be productive at home, we can be productive in the office. Um, Again, it's all about balance, but creating space for these conversations makes the workplace happier for everyone. Um, in turn, happier employees, happier
Yes.
employers, happiness all around.
Yes, yes, yes. And I tell you, it's always a pleasure, having a meeting with your team, employee engagement, and you always would close it out on a positive note. So I think when we look at this overall curriculum and having you in this particular space, it was well thought out of, and not only thought of, but I think you were a perfect person to push this across the table, but not only push it across the table, but bring it to the forefront, making sure everyone is okay to talk about self-care in the workplace, talking about what it looks like, knowing your limits, knowing self-care at home is important as well. And what would you say to a coworker, Gabrielle, who is clearly stressed out, but keep pushing through without resting? I know, I know this is important. So what would you have to tell them, Gabby?
First, those were very kind words, Roderick. Thanks for thinking me as such a positive person.
Hey, you
I,
are.
we all
You're
have our
welcome.
days, but yeah, sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, or, uh, you know, put out what you need the most. So I, I appreciate those kind words.
No
Um,
problem.
but I guess if a coworker, you know, were to look stressed or to be pushing through without taking breaks. I keep it light but supportive. I might say, "Hey, you've been going nonstop. Want to step away, grab some fresh air, a coffee, or maybe even schedule in some lunch." Um, I'd like to think that you chose me for this topic because, yeah, I'm always the one in the team uh, to create conversation or to even suggest lunch. I love a good
Yes.
lunch. But sometimes an invitation feels easier than being told to take a break. So
Yes.
even just
Mhm.
asking, how are you holding up, goes a long way. Shows you're genuinely interested and concerned. But also a simple check-in sometimes can give someone permission to pause and to think, oh, how am I? Am I doing okay? Uh, I like to think that I do that for our team a lot. Just,
Yes, you do.
put life into perspective that, we don't always have to talk about work, but to focus on the things that matter. Yes, a job matters. Yes, a job is critical. But to also just take a step back. There's that saying where people say, um, your job right now is someone else's dream job. So I think of that
Mm.
often. Um, and then whenever I think about just our team meetings and our team conversations, when I do get the honor of closing them out, um, I really appreciate the job that I have. And it's my dream job too, to be able to sit at the table with our team, um, and to just recognize one another and how lucky we are to do the job, because yeah, jobs can get overwhelming and stressful, but again, it's all about balance.
Yes.
Sometimes just taking a step back and being appreciative goes a long way.
Yes, yes, I duly agree. And I echo all those sentiments, Gabby. And I just want to say thank you so much for this whole meeting that we got set up together and a part of this curriculum, when I looked over it initially, I was like, I already know who we need in this particular space. I'm gonna reach out to her. And so I'm glad it came to fruition because like I said, you exude those positive attributes and everybody on the team can tell as well. So thank you for sharing your insights with the Gulf Coast region as a whole in reference to self-care and awareness of self-care. So Gabby, hats off to you. Thank you once again. And I will say to you, definitely keep me around in reference to if you need any help in your workspace and any supports that I can definitely help out in your areas here as well. So thank you, Gabby. You have any lingering answers or questions before we end this meeting?
I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me, Roderick. It really, again, we get caught up in the workday, so even this conversation help give a new perspective to the week, help power through this Wednesday, and get us
Yes.
through and pushing forward. So,
All
thank
right.
you for giving me this opportunity, Roderick.
All right. Thank you for hitting it out the ballpark. Thank you, Gabby. And we'll see you around soon. And hey, keep doing a great job. Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you. You know where to
All
find
right.
me.
All right. Bye, Gabby. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Higher Gulf Coast Youth, HGCY, is a dynamic initiative dedicated to igniting passion, expanding opportunity, and guiding youth ages 14 to 24 toward meaningful, sustainable careers. Through engaging career exploration activities and hands-on work-based experiences, HGCY connects young people with industries that show strong regional growth and offer pathways to high-skill, high-demand jobs. Recognizing that career decisions can feel overwhelming, Higher Gulf Coast Youth provides practical tools such as career exploration tools, job search tips, and resume assistance to make the process more accessible and effective. These resources are designed to help youth identify industries and occupations that align with their strengths, interests, and long-term goals. As part of our ongoing commitment to empowering young people, we also share key insights on in-demand occupations and priority industries across the Gulf Coast region. Whether you're just beginning to explore your options or ready to launch your career journey, Higher Gulf Coast Youth is here to help you make informed choices and confidently move toward your future.